recording. Okay, very well. So recording is in progress. And right now, I would like to welcome all the participants of the webinar. Geoff, if you see anybody in the waiting room, in the meantime, let them in. And then when you get started, I will be letting some more people in if needed. Okay. So as everybody probably knows, Geoff is a freelance consultant, and he in the field of language training, testing, and teacher training at the same time. And he's particularly interested in English for specific purposes, like technical purposes, business purposes, or even aviation English, which is a very interesting area. He implements the content, approach, and methodology of Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, CEFR, in both language courses and language testing. And last but not least, that is a very important area that some of us might have forgotten about, namely using humor as teaching and learning resource in the English classroom. So bringing the desired fun into teaching learning process. A few of the other areas of interest that Geoff specializes in is adult education, curriculum design, e-learning, also higher education, if curriculum design, then curriculum development, research, translation, technology, educational technology specifically, but also interpersonal skills, intercultural communication, and English as a second, teaching English for special purposes, as I said before. Before I allow Geoff to start, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that Geoff has already offered quite a few webinars for IATEFL Poland, and the most recent webinars, just to mention a few of them from the previous school academic year and this one, the old, the new, and the new old, classroom and Zoom room. That was the first topic. Then save lives and money, use and teach commas, hyphens, and apostrophes correctly. And that is background to teaching punctuation. And the third one, beware of comfort zone. I'm going to include these topics in the chat box so that you will be able to find them on our YouTube channel. I will also provide you with the links to our Facebook, YouTube channel, and other channels. So Geoff, over to you. Not only funny ideas for Christmas.
Okay, thank you, Lucina. Yes, good evening, everybody. I can't see whether everybody has followed the instructions in the write-up for this webinar, whether you are wearing the Christmas Santa Claus hat or not. As you can see, I am, and that's just to put you in the mood. And that is to show that today it is, of course, teacher training is serious, but we intend to have a little bit of fun. Fun doesn't mean that you are going to be laughing the whole time. Fun means that we're going to do something really interesting that has to do with English teaching, but also the common denominator is Christmas, because many of us in the weeks before Christmas like to include something Christmassy in our teaching. And what I want to show you today is a few ideas how you can easily and practically use Christmas ideas in your classroom, whether you are with young learners, whether you are with old learners, whether you are with ESP or whether you are with general English. It's always possible to try and put a Christmas slant on your teaching. But first of all, I'd like to ask you the question, what do you think of when you hear Christmas? What do you think of when you hear Christmas? And if you have the chat open, could you just put into the chat things that you think of when you hear Christmas? Happiness, snow, family, gifts, Christmas tree, cold, joy, happiness, presents, Christmas dinner, holidays, gifts, stress. Oh, stress is not the best word, no. Apple and cinnamon, presents. Oh, I think we've got lots of nice things there, apart from the cold. Oh, all right. What I want to do is to take you through the different aspects. I think it is a great topic, and I think it is something useful. I hope it will be. We will see in one hour's time. We'll start off with the question of greetings. Because Christmas greetings, Christmas cards, it's very often nice to have Christmas cards in the classroom. This is a very old one, which I think is very nice, but it is possible to find on the internet using the address that I've got at the bottom of the page in the blue box, and I'll just show you what is in there. I found this when I was preparing for the session today. So let's hope you can see it. Just a moment. Oh, and one little moment. We're getting there slowly.
Slowly but steadily.
Slowly but surely. Oh, why can't you see that? I don't know. There we are. Right. I hope you can see Merry Christmas. And you can see it's Merry Christmas wallpaper, and it's something you can use if you are working on the internet, giving people ideas, putting people in the mood for 2021. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That is just for starters to get us in the mood, and we can see what images people are using for Christmas and Christmas cards this year. Right, so we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation now. That was just to start us off. Don't worry, we're still there. Back to PowerPoint. That is where we were. Right, so I hope everyone can see the PowerPoint again. That was just start off. And let's start with some fun. I asked you what you thought of Christmas. I brought here some nice quotations. You're getting old when Santa starts looking younger. At Christmas, tea is compulsory, relatives are optional. There are 17 more shopping days until Christmas. So guys, that means 16 more days till we start shopping, right? As you know, men are famous for not shopping before Christmas Eve. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, but if the white runs out, I'll drink the red instead. Mail your packages early so that the post office can lose them in time for Christmas. I love Christmas presents. I receive a lot of wonderful presents that I can't wait to exchange. What I don't like about Christmas parties is looking for a job the next day. Christmas is a time when you get homesick, even when you are home. The office Christmas party is a great opportunity to catch up with people you haven't seen for 20 minutes. Some of them you may like, some of them you may not like. These are just a short sample of what you can find if you Google funny Christmas quotations. And this is just the first sample that I found, funny Christmas greetings, funny Christmas quotations. What can you do with that? Well, what I would do with this is to ask people which they like and which they would put up in their office, or which they would put up in their study, which they would like to hang up in the classroom. Why? What is the benefit of doing that? The benefit of doing that is they have to read. You make them read, and what we want to do is to get people to read, and when they read and choose, they are learning the vocabulary. So my favorite is Merry Christmas, nearly everybody. This is by the satiriker Ogden Nash, and he was a person who didn't like everybody. But when we're working with Christmas in the classroom, we need to understand need to know whether our students actually have the vocabulary. So how can we deal with Christmas vocabulary? For example, typical Christmas vocabulary. How can we work with it? They may know these words. They may have learned them last year, a year ago, but forgotten them by now. This is just a sample. There are so many different arrangements like this. How can we get them to learn them? Using Christmas word search. Word search. I'm sure you've used these before. Hidden in this box are so many Christmas words like elves, lights, celebrate, reindeer, cookies, etc., etc. They go diagonally, they go vertically, they go horizontally. If you wish, they can go upside down, so it makes it even harder for more advanced people. If you want to use anything like this, you again just Google word search Christmas, and this is the selection I found within 1 second. If that is too much for you, if you don't want to make one your own, or if you don't want to copy them, you can use this, which is on the British Council Teaching English website. And that is a Word file. And there you can make your own, or you can ask people to put the Christmas words into this box themselves. So they make a Christmas puzzle for each other. So either you make a Christmas puzzle for them, or they make a Christmas puzzle for you, or they make a Christmas puzzle for each other, or they form groups, and each group makes a different Christmas puzzle and gives that to the another group, and they have to see who can solve the Christmas puzzle first. And at the same time, learning and consolidating vocabulary. So vocabulary by using word search, by using diagrams, and by making people develop their own word search. Right. Of course, one of the most interesting figures at Christmas time is, of course, Father Christmas, Santa Claus. If you are teaching at primary school level, you should go to the Christmas in the classroom. You can see the link at the bottom. I'll put it in the chat for you if you want to save it. Right, there it is. Christmas in the classroom. They have lots of things that you can do, but they have this selection of letters to Santa. And these are real letters from primary school children in Britain. And I'm sure they will be interesting for primary school students, primary school pupils to read. And there's another section on the next slide. I have a few more. Written by native speaker children, and a good example for writing one's own letter to Santa if you feel that is something you'd like to do in your classroom. And that applies to everything I'm going to do this evening. Everything I'm going to show this evening is not everything for everybody. I hope it's everything for somebody, and that somebody finds something, everybody finds something they want to use in the classroom. And as I try to make it as practical as possible. I try to make it as active as possible, and I try to make it as easy to prepare as possible. So there we have Santa Claus, writing a letter to Santa Claus. If you are, again, in the primary school sector, you should try looking at the Santa tracker, which is on Google. Here we are. Not only do they have lots of games and things that you can use, the Santa tracker also tracks, like various sites track aircraft, tracks Santa Claus going around the world taking the presents to the children on Christmas Eve. That is something which you can ask people to do on Christmas Eve themselves, something they can follow in English during Christmas Eve, at home, away from school. Another aspect of Father Christmas is Santa Claus. And there's this site, again, you can see at the bottom, and I will once again copy it and put it into the chat box for you. The picture chart is very useful. Now, I shall have more examples from picture chart in a moment. This one is the origins of Santa Claus. starting in 2008 AD, then 1600s and 1700s, 1800s, the history of Santa Claus. This is something you could do as a reading exercise with secondary children, perhaps also with adults or even senior citizens. One way of introducing it would be to say, what do you know about Santa Claus? What do you think of Santa Claus? Where did Santa Claus start? How long is the tradition of Santa Claus? And then they make guesses, they collect their ideas, and then you can give them the text and say, right, were you right? Were you wrong? What is the most interesting thing that you find here on Santa Claus? Another example of Santa Claus you find here. Did you know that Santa Claus is the most dangerous job in the world? Because if you look on the left-hand side, based on population figures, Santa will deliver gifts to 1.6 billion children around the world. And with an average of 2.5 kids per household, that's 640 million stops. And it says further on, to reach all these houses, his sleigh travels at 8,180,295 kilometers per hour. And he visits 5,556 homes every second. Not only that, in every house, he has to eat and drink something. So he enjoys some refreshment along the way. And his calorie consumption reaches 150 billion, which is 56 million and 75,766 times the recommended daily intake of calories, and enough for more than 2,000 average human lifetimes. Lots of interesting things you can do with that. You could, of course, start by giving your students, your pupils, this text without the figures and ask them to guess what the figures are, and then show them the figures. Or you can give some people the figures and some people the text and ask them to match the figures with the text. Lots of interesting things. I'm sure the figures are going to be fascinating, and it's also a good way of perhaps practicing long numbers. Another fact about Santa is Christmas Eve snacks include, when he's in Denmark, he gets rice pudding. When he's in Chile, South America, he gets their traditional cake. Coffee when he's in Sweden, and I'm sure he likes going to Australia because there he gets beer, cookies and milk. Yeah? And one of the health risks for Santa Claus is, as you can see in the middle, with all these gifts to deliver, he does a lot of heavy lifting, a common cause of back muscle strain, so he gets backache. And 1 in 3 injuries to Australian workers are actually caused by manual handling. So all the risks of Santa Claus in his job. Another aspect of Christmas is the fact that these traditions are different across the world. And let's have a look at a few. And here there is an amazing website I have found, and you can see it moved. You can see I wanted to copy the link into the chat box again, because it shows you Christmas around the world. And what happens is all these countries, when you go onto the site, you just click onto any of those countries and you get a description of what Christmas is like in that country. And this offers lots and lots, for more advanced classes, this offers lots and lots of useful reading exercises, discussion exercises, use of language. So one group could, for example, take Indonesia, one group Belgium, and then they compare that what is done in the one country, what is done in the other country, and you can have lots of fun and interesting information about how Christmas traditions and how Christmas is celebrated in lots of different countries across the world. One of the countries, and I'm sure this will be interesting for most people watching tonight, is Christmas in Poland. I just give you 30 seconds to start reading to see whether you agree, because very often there are slight differences between what we read on the internet and what we read and what really happens in the country concerned. And one question with this text would be, do you agree with everything here that they say about Christmas in Poland? Is it the same in your family? Does your family do this, or do they not do these things, etc., etc. That gives them a motive and makes it familiar, brings it into their family for what they actually do, and they can talk about their own Christmas time. That I find a very useful, very interesting way of dealing with Christmas in the classroom. There's also another site which I'll give you here. And this is the infographics again. They have Santa's Christmas Journey. You can't read this because it's too small, but if you go onto the website, you'll be able to find these things, and you can see they have Venezuela, the UK, Czech Republic, Japan, Norway, Singapore, El Salvador, China, Australia, Austria, and lots more. So again, finding out, reporting to each other, groups working individually, reporting to each other what they found out, and then the groups compare what they hear from other groups and discuss the differences from country to country. Right. One of the interesting things is there are laws regarding Christmas in many countries which are unbelievable. And you can see the website I'm now putting in the. Oh, thank you, Oscar. If it's quite accurate, then it's good. Right? But the fact to find out that it was quite accurate, that means you had to read. And that means you're practicing, and your students and your pupils will then be practicing reading techniques, because you're reading to look to see if there are any differences, and it's a very authentic way of practicing reading. The link, Bizarre Christmas Laws, shows here that in certain parts of the States, I think it was New Jersey, there's a law against putting so many lights outside the house in the garden at Christmas time. I don't know whether that happens in Poland, but in Germany, there are often conflicts between neighbors, some of whom want to keep Christmas and Advent dark with just ordinary white lights, and other neighbors who want to go and put as much color as possible in the garden. Another interesting Christmas law is in Arkansas, you are not allowed to sell alcoholic drinks. So there's no booze, no alcohol in the eggnog or glühwein or mulled wine in Arkansas. Another one is there's a tax on Christmas trees in the States, it's said. And here, the English actually banned Christmas in the 17th century when the Roundheads were in charge, when it was a republic. Or another one is there's a war on Christmas trees in New York. Apparently, it is not possible to use real trees in shopping malls because of the danger of fire. These offer a great opportunity, and if you go onto the site, you'll find a total of 20, an opportunity again for reading, reporting, and discussing how sensible such laws are. If you are in a business class, professional English for business purposes, this again comes from the pictogram site, picture chart. Business numbers where people are given here a review of Christmas markets, Christmas business, Christmas spending, Christmas finances in the States. And then afterwards, they give a report. They can make a little PowerPoint presentation of what they have found out about the numbers behind Christmas in the States. So again, as I said, not only English for general purposes, not only for children in the classroom, also not only for senior citizens, but also for students. You can use something like this to get every kind of class in all educational sectors to identify themselves and to occupy themselves with Christmas in the classroom, just the week before Christmas. Here, the giant trees, which state has the largest, highest tree? Christmas tree. You can see here 30 foot, 70 foot, 100 foot, and how many LED lights they have. 74, 110. That one in Phoenix, they have a white fir, 50,000 LEDs. Whereas in Salt Lake City, it's only 48 foot high, but there are nearly 1,000 LED lights, etc., etc. So again, people can be asked to present a diagram like this, and on the site you'll find more of these. Asked to present Christmas from that point of view. Facts about Christmas are also quite useful. This is rather in line with the bizarre laws. Here we have a Christmas trivia quiz, and quizzes are a good way of dealing with Christmas. For example, here, the question 1 in the top left-hand corner says, the X at the beginning of Christmas stands for which of the following? And the second one, to complete all his deliveries on Christmas Eve, how many homes does Santa Claus deliver per second, etc., etc., etc. So you can give these to groups, and people work together in groups to see who can answer the questions fastest. Again, I put this link into the chat box for you, so that you can copy it and be able to find that then more easily. Humour, Teaching English, is also a very good website. They have things not only for Christmas, this is just for Christmas. Here we have 8 customs, 8 countries, but they have been jumbled. And the task is for people to find the correct answer. If the students have computers accessible or smartphones accessible, you can ask them in groups to find the answer by using their English language smartphones. And I have no objection to people using English language smartphones in the classroom, providing they are doing English work, because that is an authentic task, an authentic way, an authentic resource for finding out about language or about countries. And here's another one. All of these can be found. You can even make your own. If you just Google interesting facts, surprising facts about Christmas, you will find hundreds of these. Right. Christmas commercials. And at Christmas, we have all kinds of advertisements on television. All the major shops try to attract customers by having commercial advertisements. And I thought I'd show you one. You can find it on Google, on YouTube. I have got it on my hard disk. So I'll just stop the PowerPoint now, and I'll go on to the where are we? All right, so this is an advert. What do you think? The task is, what do you think the advert is for? What company has started this advert? It only takes about 45 seconds. What are they advertising?
Tell us, Pete, Jan, what makes Christmas for you?
What do you reckon, Jan? It's got to be the arrival of the Christmas human, don't you think?
Yes, of course. We all get involved. Our little saplings get ever so excited.
We always like to get ours right at the start of December. Jan and I like a medium build. It's got to have a nice shape.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Let's get this little chappie in.
Oh, I do wish you'd be a bit more careful with the human.
I must admit, we do tend to have a bit of a squabble over the decorations, don't we?
Well, he always goes OTT with the tinsel.
Ah, I do love the smell of real humans. You know, it's a funny tradition bringing a human into your home, but Christmas wouldn't be the same without it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I hope you liked that.
Hey, buddy. I got you something.
Right, so there are many more. If you just go onto YouTube and type in top 10 funniest Christmas commercials, you'll find it quite easily. So we'll go back to where we were, right? There are also interesting adverts like this. How many of these adverts would you, we'll start with the first one instead of having them all at once. On the left-hand side, a real advertisement, leave booze for Santa. He's making a list, checking it twice. The drunker he gets, the more you look nice. Or here, Christmas morning, the lady will be happier with a Hoover. Or guard against throat scratch, smoke Pall Mall. Or, just a moment, what have I got here? Wives, look at this list here. Circle the items that you would like for Christmas. And I'm sure all the ladies in the room would love something from there at Christmas. And the final one is here, 7 to 17, Daisy will make it a Christmas to remember. So Daisy gun, 1 gun for every member of the family. I think that would make a nice, interesting discussion at an advanced level, an interesting discussion on, first of all, Christmas gifts in general, but also the whether such things should be gifts, and thirdly, the ethics of such advertisements. Let's continue. I'm sure all of you know the 12 days of Christmas. A partridge in a pear tree, 2 turtle doves, 3 French hens, 4 calling birds, and I'm sure many of you will be singing it in the classroom. That is something which is fun, singing. But there are alternatives. For example, this is Mr. Trump's 12th day of Christmas. On the 12th day of Christmas, Bob Mueller gave to me 12 Russians singing, 11 aides pleading, 10 staff resigning, 9 ladies suing, 8 lawyers billing, 7 days rage tweeting, 6 judges judging, 5 bankruptcies, 4 tax returns, 3 girlfriends, 2 suspect sons, and some handcuffs waiting for me. And I'm sure in certain classes, high-level classes, classes where you are perhaps dealing with politics or dealing with history, or just having discussion groups, that would be a very interesting text to offer after Christmas. You will also find normal ones. This is a song, and if you go to the YouTube page, it comes from New Zealand. Just a moment, I'll just open the chat again. Someone's asked a question, what was the name of the commercial we just watched? It was on a whole video of 10 commercials, and that was for B&Q, which is the garden center, do-it-yourself garden center. So if you will go onto YouTube and Google B&Q gardening Christmas advertisements, you'll find that. All right. So now we have this one here, and this is sung by a New Zealander. There's the link for you to copy. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love came to me, 12 lollies rolling, 11 yachts a-sailing, 10 pairs of yandles, 9 jars of Marmite, 8 frisbees flying, and the 7th, etc., etc., 7 hobbits extra, 6 rugby players, etc. What might be a nice idea if you have a creative group is to ask these people, the people in your class, the pupils, the adults, the students, to make one themselves. And if you work in groups, they work in groups, say 3 or 4 people. Individually, working individually is too difficult, but 3 or 4 people, give them possible topics, something to do with the country, something to do with the area, something to do with their hobbies. They might like to make their own 12th day of Christmas, the first day of Christmas songs, and then sing it themselves. And finally, I'm sure, as I said, I'm sure you have heard the partridge in a pear tree, but have you ever thought what the lady who received all these presents from her admirer thought on receiving all these things? And what I'm going to show you now, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, the 12 Days of Christmas, a correspondence. This was written by John Julius Norwich. And John Julius Norwich writes the letters that he thinks the lady will have sent her admirer on receipt of the various items. For example, the first one, a partridge in a pear tree. My dearest darling, that partridge in that lovely pear tree, what an enchanting, romantic, poetic present. Bless you and thank you, your deeply loving Emily. 2 turtle doves. My dearest darling Edward, the 2 turtle doves arrived this morning and are cooing away in the pear tree as I write. I'm so touched and grateful. With undying love, as always, Emily. 3 French hens. My darling Edward, you do think of the most original presents. Whoever thought of sending anybody these 3 French hens? Do they really come all the way from France? It's a pity that we have no chicken coops, but I expect we'll find some. Thank you anyway, they're lovely. Your loving Emily. 4 calling birds. What dearest Edward, what a surprise. 4 calling birds arrived this morning. They are very sweet, even if they do call rather loudly. They make telephoning impossible, but I expect they'll calm down when they get used to their new home. Anyway, I'm very grateful. Of course I am. Love from Emily. 5 gold rings. Dearest Edward, the postman has just delivered 5 most beautiful gold rings, 1 for each finger, all fitting perfectly, a really lovely present. Lovely in a way than birds, which do take a lot of looking after. The 4 that arrived yesterday are still making a terrible row, and I'm afraid none of us got much sleep last night. Mummy says she wants to use the rings to wring their necks, but she's only joking. I think, although I know what she means, but I do love the rings. Bless you, love Emily. 6 geese a laying. Dear Edward, whatever I expected to find when I opened the front door this morning, it certainly wasn't 6 sopping great geese laying eggs all over the doorstep. Frankly, I rather hoped you would stop sending me birds. We have no room for them, and they've already ruined the croquet lawn. I know you meant well, but let's call a halt, shall we? Love, Emily. 7 swans are swimming. Edward, I thought I said no more birds, but this morning I woke up to find no less than 7 swans all trying to get into our tiny goldfish bowl. I'd rather not think what happened to the goldfish. The whole house seems to be full of birds, to say nothing of what they leave behind them. Please, please stop. Your Emily. 8 maids are milking. Frankly, I think I prefer the birds. What am I to do with 8 milkmaids and their cows? Is this some kind of a joke? If so, I'm afraid I don't find it amusing. Emily. 9 ladies dancing. Look here, Edward. This has gone far enough. You say you're sending me 9 ladies dancing. All I can say is that judging from the way they dance, they are certainly not ladies. The village isn't accustomed to seeing a regiment of shameless hussies with nothing on but their lipstick cavorting around the green. And it's Mummy and I who get blamed. If you value our friendship, which I do less and less, kindly stop this ridiculous behavior at once. 10 lords are leaping. As I write this letter, 10 disgusting old men are prancing all over what used to be the garden before the geese and the swans and the cows got at it. And several of them, I notice, are taking inexcusable liberties with the milkmaids. Meanwhile, the neighbours are trying to have us evicted. I shall never speak to you again. Emily. 11 pipers piping. This is the last straw. You know I detest bagpipes. The place has now become something between a menagerie and a madhouse, and a man from the council has just declared it's unfit for habitation. At least Mummy has been spared this last outrage. They took her away yesterday afternoon in an ambulance. I hope you're satisfied. And 12 drummers drumming. Dear sir, our client, Miss Emily Wilbraham, instructs me to inform you that with the arrival on her premises at 7:30 this morning of the entire percussion section of the Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra and several of their friends, she has no course left open to her but to seek an injunction to prevent your importuning her further. I'm making arrangements for the return of the much salted livestock. I am, sir, yours faithfully, Dreep. That, I think, puts a new slant on the famous Christmas carol. I think it's a good way of having something literary. There are lots of short stories about Christmas. That's a rather humorous short story because many people know the carol and then they find this even funnier. Churches in the States and in Britain often have signs outside, some kind of religious meaning. And for Christmas, you'll find more. And if you want to find them, just put into your just Google funny church Christmas signs. I have one or two for you. Southend Baptist Church, whoever is praying for snow, please stop. Or the wise men didn't need GPS to find him, and you don't either, referring to how frequently people go to church. Or what does God want for Christmas? Look in the mirror. And here I have another funny Christmas church signs. I think it takes too long to show you now, but if you go to YouTube and put funny Christmas church signs, they have 2 minutes of church signs. I think about 15 church signs, which are very funny, playing with words in a religious way. And there's nice Christmas music to go with it. Knock, knock, who's there? I'm sure many of you know the knock, knock jokes. Knock, knock, who's there? Normally who? Normally, I don't go around knocking on doors, but I just had to meet you. These are not yet the Christmas ones. The Christmas ones were coming. I'm now putting on the chat, in the chat box, some of these ordinary knock knocks. Here's another one. Knock, knock, who's there? Cook. Cook who? Hey, who are you calling cook who? Or knock, knock, who's there? Tanku, you're welcome. Or knock, knock, who's there? Annie. Annie who? Anybody home? Or knock, knock, who's there? Yule. Yule who? You'll never guess. Or who's there? Gladys. Gladys who? Gladys the weekend, no homework. I'll give you 30 seconds to try to complete these. If you think you can complete them, just put it in the chat. Knock, knock, who's there? Mary. Mary who? That is Merry Christmas. And 2, knock, knock, who's there? Eva. Eva who? Eva nice Christmas or Eva nice time. Knock, knock, who's there? Chris. Chris who? Christmas carols. 4, knock, knock, who's there? Anna. Anna who? And a Happy New Year. Knock, knock, who's there? Holly. Holly who? Holly and the Ivy. And knock, knock, who's there? Ivor. Ivor who? Ivor New Year's resolution. So there are the answers for you. Science. I said at the beginning, you can actually use Christmas as an ESP topic. And there is something very interesting, which is the science of Christmas. And this you will find on this website. And these are free podcasts, and you can see from the overview you have on the screen at the moment, it's all about future technology. And the first one is at the North Pole, we're looking for better and faster ways. Transporting presents, navigation, stealth, Santa, they take real technology and put it into a Christmas context. And now I'll try and play this for you, just one moment. It's not working. One last attempt. Not working. Okay, we'll continue. But I've given you the link, and if you go there and you'll have, for example, many people now teach CLIL. This would be perfect for CLIL. If you have a CLIL class and you're teaching science in the classroom in English, or there are at a higher level of English, you can use this quite easily as a Christmas edition. How fast does Santa travel? Also, for people who are in the CLIL scene, many, I'm not quite sure about Poland, but many history lessons in Germany are done in English. History is taught as from the 7th grade in English. And here we have a lovely site where they show you the history of Christmas throughout the years. Can also be used with normal classes. It can be used with adults, because many adults are interested in finding out more about Christmas. Because Christmas has changed in the last 30, 40 years, never mind the last 400 years. And there on this site, you will find out how Christmas has changed over the centuries. Christmas food. I'm not going to show you recipes because I don't think it's possible to use recipes in the classroom. But there's another way of looking at Christmas food, because Christmas food, we often have something which is very special. Here we have the most expensive Christmas dinner ever. And these are some of the ingredients that were used for the most expensive Christmas dinner, and it was devised by London chef Ben Spalding back in 2012. And you can see the vodka cost 2,000, the champagne cost £37,000, the bird's nest costed 100, the melon cost €2,500, etc., etc. Now I've got the actual menu on the left-hand side. It might be a little difficult to see because it's small, but you can see what the menu was. The ultimate Christmas dinner. They started off with vodka and champagne. Then they had bird's nest and Alma's caviar, and with a 150-year-old balsamic and Spanish ham. Then they had a whole white truffle poached in chicken juice, chicken sauce, with saffron and with a melon. Then they had rare breed red turkey with Wagyu beef, which is the most expensive beef, with heart, wrapped in gold leaf with truffles, and finished off with chocolate, premium chocolate. And this, on the right-hand side, you can see how much he spent on individual items. That, I think, is a good example of excess. I think we can all agree on that. Another example, similar example, is what the Queen has for Christmas. Because the former palace chef reveals what the Queen and the royals eat. And I think that is nicely contrasting with the next one, which is a poor housewife who has to go to depend on charity to put her Christmas meal together. She made a family meal for 4 people from just £10. You can see she has a £10 note in her hand. She made this meal £4. I think that in certain classes would provide a very good discussion on luxury and the difference in society, the way society is getting further and further apart, the rich and the poor, and the scissors between the rich and the poor is getting wider and wider. And that can be done quite nicely with this Christmas topic. And finally, there is this article which I've taken from Huffington Post. Huffington Post is an online newspaper. Again, I put it into the chat box on the cost of Christmas for millions who are facing poverty. And this is particularly a problem in Britain nowadays, Britain because of Brexit and Britain because of the pandemic. I'm sure it's the same in other countries as well. So the cost of Christmas is the topic. The big differentials between the poor and the rich on the basis of the most expensive Christmas meal ever, what the Queen and her family will be having at Christmas, and how a poor family is able to put a meal together for 4 for only £10 with the help of charity. If we try to find a Christmas newspaper, we can find all kinds of funny articles. For example, A survey revealed that one of the reasons why pubs are so popular at Christmas is that people go there to escape their in-laws. Or, trust the Irish, the Caucus note at Scrooge's, children in Ireland often put sacks instead of socks for Santa to fill, and it is traditional to leave out mince pies and a bottle of Guinness for the old fella for Father Christmas. Or here, the Chippenham couple celebrated Christmas 2007 with the world's oldest imitation tree. The 120-year-old miniature cost 6p, that's 2.5 upence, and has been handed down in the family since 1886. It amazes me to think it's been appearing every Christmas since Victoria times. We will be passing it on to our son. Or for Andy Park of Wiltshire, it's Christmas every day. He starts with mince pies and turkey, sandwiches for breakfast, crackers at lunch, video of the Queen's speech at 3 o'clock, and a roast turkey dinner. He's been doing this for 12 years and has consumed an estimated 4,380 turkeys. Christmas dinner every day. Did you know the average Christmas tree is home to 30,000 bugs, including spiders, fleas, and lice? Receiving a Christmas card with a robin on it is a sign of something nasty to come, according to the Penguin Guide to the Superstitions of Britain, but wearing a spider in a bag round your neck until it dies will bring good luck. Or here, I'm sure some of the people in the audience today will be able to follow this. Kevin Mackenzie reports the 4 stages of Father Christmas. Firstly, you believe. Secondly, you don't believe. Thirdly, you are. And then finally, you look like Father Christmas. And then you see how dangerous Christmas is. A moment. Make it a bit smaller so everyone can see it. Yeah. All the possible accidents that the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents has reported. So 6,000 people will end up in hospital on Christmas Day in Britain. And during the 12 days, more than 80,000 people will visit the wards, accidents and emergency wards for drunken dads, chefs, etc., etc., etc. So that is the dangers of Christmas. All right. What we can do with those is you could ask people to put together, if you have enough of those, and you can find many of those by simply Googling funny Christmas news stories. And you can find them and put them together and then ask them to make their own Christmas paper in groups. All right. 1 or 2 more quotations to finish with before we get to the Queen. We mentioned the Queen on Christmas Day. I want to finish with the Queen at Christmas Day. What I like about Christmas is that you make people forget the past and remember the present. Sending Christmas cards is a good way to let your friends and family know that you think of them. You think that they're worth the price of a stamp. Do give books, religious or otherwise, for Christmas. They're never fattening, seldom sinful, and permanently personal. Christmas is a time when you get homesick, even if you're home. It's a season when people run out of money before they run out of friends. And finally, Bloody Christmas here again. I'm sure this is something for the housewives or the wives. Bloody Christmas here again. Let us raise a loving cup. Peace on earth, goodwill to men, and make them do the washing up. Right. As I said, we'll finish with the Queen. And you probably know that the Queen on Christmas Day, at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day, gives her message to her people. It's on all television channels. I think it's on most of them anyhow. It's very difficult to escape. And she talks for about 5 minutes talking about the year. And this year, I'm sure she'll be talking about her husband who unfortunately died this year. She'll be talking about the pandemic and all the other problems the country has had. And that runs for about 5 minutes. If you want to find one, you could simply go onto YouTube, Queen's Christmas speech. One year, however, a tea manufacturer, I'm sure you may have heard of PG Tips. PG Tips is a very popular brand of tea. They always worked with their advertising. They always worked with chimpanzees. And they made the Queen's speech as part of one of their tea adverts. The Queen was so amused, normally the Queen is not amused, the Queen was so amused, she laughed the whole time. And I think I'll show you this because it is worth watching. So it takes about 2 minutes, and the Queen is practicing for the Christmas talk. And you can see on the left-hand side of the picture, there's a glass of sherry and some cakes. On the right-hand side is the royal Christmas tree. And during the talk, she has to have a drink sherry, but she keeps making mistakes. And that means she has to drink another sherry. And she makes a mistake, another sherry, and she gets slightly inebriated. And you'll see the results in a moment. And I think this is a good way of showing the British attitude to humour, that people in Britain can laugh at themselves. Even the Queen can laugh at herself. So I take this down for a moment, and I'll go and get to the Christmas speech. Just a moment. Now we have to go back to here. Right, so that seems to be working. The Monkey's Christmas Queen speech. If you want to find it on YouTube, you just type in Monkey's Christmas speech. Here we are.
And now, a special Christmas message. It is all too easy to shake one's head at the state of modern Britain. In this age of selfies and frothy lattes, one feels it's more important than ever that one tells it like it is. So, one would like to raise a toast to keeping it tea this festive season. For there is one thing that every man, woman and child of our great nation must crew this Dismas. Oh, sorry. One would like to raise a toast. But there should be one thing in one's mind, one should make one sure. I'll just rehearse that, shall I? For there'll be one thing in that shall make one... So, one would like to raise a toast. Oh! To keeping it tea this festive season. Oh, I'd like to tase a ghost. I'd like to shave a stoat. Tasty pies. I'd like to raise a toast and tell one that... come on, Monkey, you're a professional. So, I'd like to raise a toast. So, let's keep it tea in 2016. Thank you, people of...
Right, so there we have the Queen getting drunk while trying to wish her people Merry Christmas. Right, we've just about managed. It's just 2 minutes to past. So I think we can say Merry Christmas in many European languages. I haven't got Mexico on here. All I have are the European languages. So I hope we can find your language on there. And another way of doing that is to say Merry Christmas to everybody. And thank you for coming to everybody. And now, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box and I will be able to answer any questions that you have. I hope I've given you some inspiration for something that you can do in your classroom between now and Christmas. You still have 2 weeks' time, and I hope there's something for everybody. And I hope you had a lot of fun as well. Wasn't all laughter, but fun is not always laughter. Fun is when you are also in a positive frame and a positive mood, a positive frame of mind, and looking forward to what is coming in the class. Yeah. I find that Polish word very difficult to say, so I won't even try it, Magdalena. Thank you for wishing me Merry Christmas in Polish, but I'll try to avoid having to say it in Polish. Take that down. Yes, I hope to see you at at a webinar sometime in the new year. And don't forget to make New Year's resolutions, like attending as many webinars as possible. No, I don't have my own website, Nora, and no, I'm afraid not. But if you need any information, you'll find my IATEFL Poland address on the IATEFL Poland website, and then you can ask me any questions that you have.
You can watch Geoff again on IATEFL YouTube channel. Yes, some of his other webinars as well. The ones, some of them that I quoted in the chat box, but there are more of them. So welcome, welcome.
Yes. It's very hot under my Father Christmas hat.
But you are still Santa, yes? So you are playing the role perfectly.
Yeah, can I ask how many people in the audience were actually wearing a Father Christmas hat or have a Christmas sack or stocking to fill with presents?
They didn't want to share this message with us because when you were presenting, everybody was not only muted, but also hidden behind the camera. So that's the way it took place. Yes, but I'm sure that even if without Christmas hats, we are all in Christmas moods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what matters. Okay, I see if there are any comments. No comments, just that people had a lot of fun. There were approximately 40 participants of this webinar. So this was a huge webinar, and I really appreciate the fact that you, Geoff, have managed to accumulate so many people.
Yes, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. Yes, I've enjoyed myself, as you can see. I enjoyed preparing this, and I've enjoyed doing the workshop. So, yes, see you next year, I hope.
Yes, see you next year, of course. So now I will stop recording. Yes, stop